All right. So, Cody, first, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your courage to come into this program and container with me. Um, yeah, if you could just talk a little bit about who you are and kind of your journey kind of before and the transformation into it, we'll just have a conversation about that. So,
Yeah. I think one of the big things is for me, I was raised like a lot of people are, but I was raised in a very religious household. And being a gay man raised in that kind of environment definitely sort of compounds this idea of shame about everything that you are. Your innate attraction to people of the same gender automatically becomes a sin. And so any sort of sexual urges, things that you naturally feel are automatically shameful. And so for a long time, I've sort of carried that around with me, and that shame's kind of permeated every part of my life. It's not just been about sex. It's, not taking care of my body becomes a shameful thing. Not taking care of my mental health becomes a shameful thing. And so that for me was a big one, a big reason why I wanted to work with you, because I felt like I knew where I wanted to go, like the things that I can see, the goals I have in life. I just didn't know how to get to that. And um, it doesn't matter like how many articles I've read about, health and fitness and mental wellness and all of that. But sometimes you just sort of need someone who's gone through it already to guide you through it. So for me, that was a big part of the work in doing this program with you. It wasn't to focus solely on losing weight or building muscle. Like those are all good things to have gained in this process, but like for me, I needed more of a transformation. I wanted to have that um yeah, I wanted to walk away from this experience with you feeling like I can do it. I can figure out how to go from here, if that makes sense. Like I needed to build the basics on how to start eating well, how to start taking care of my physical health, and also how to really focus on taking care of my mental well-being too. And it's been a huge thing I think that we've worked through together, is just this overcoming that um yeah, it's overcoming that innate sense of shame and really gaining the confidence. That's been kind of the big thing for me, is the confidence. Like it's always good. You talk about wanting to have confidence, but that for me was huge, because you at the beginning you don't really feel like you're seeing a lot of changes. Like there's the initial weight drop from changing your diet and all of that, and that's great. You're like, wow, I 1 week I lost 9 pounds, that's crazy. And then the next week it's only like 1 pound. And so you kind of right off that start to feel like maybe I'm not really doing this right. um, but then I don't know, after doing it for 6 weeks, let's say, and I go back to do some of the exercises I did at the beginning that I struggled so much with, that now feel easy. And it's a little boost in confidence. Each time you get these little accomplishments, showing up every day, doing your best to eat well, doing the exercises, great. That's a little tick mark. Yeah, that's a little confidence. But when you try something you tried 6 weeks ago and you can do it now with relative ease, that's a huge confidence boost. And then there's just been, more and more, there's been exercises that we've done together that you've had me do that definitely kind of let me see those confidence boosters and more clarity. So for me, I think it's not about, I guess, like never feeling shame, but it's about, I guess, being able to replace the shame with that confidence, because the more I feel confident in myself, the less I feel the shame. Because, yeah, okay, I made some bad choices, but now I can make good choices and undo those things that I've done.
Yeah, and even more to expand on that is we cannot shame ourselves into change. We can only learn to love our evolution. And what you were saying is like through the education, through the training, through this one-on-one support, this accountability, giving you the tools, the simple practices. It's not something complicated. Like, yeah, we're learning new things, but it's really simple and easy. It's
Yeah.
what's more complicated is all of the patterning, all of the layering, all of that survival mind and body that kind of protected us at one point in survival mode, and actually like stripping that away, destructuring that, de-armoring that, to
Yeah.
just, instead of getting back stuck and feeling lost and stuck in old routines and patterns, like breaking free of that. And
Yeah.
as a result, like you're saying, you're alchemizing it into this confidence. What once was like so challenging and so hard for you now becomes like a breeze and easy. And it's a practice, right? It's a
Yeah.
continued practice to continue showing up for yourself. And I'm super honored that you're going to continue to feel supported and continue with your training and education after this. The one thing,
Yeah.
the last thing I would ask is, what do you think you would tell somebody who is considering working with me, or even for yourself, like what would you tell yourself when you were thinking about doing this and then you did it? How would you share that with someone?
I think I think right now we live in a time that's really big on prioritizing self care. But I think a lot of people don't understand what self care can be. Like, there's this idea of, yeah, like get a massage, treat yourself to a spa day, go on a self date, like go out. That's great. Those are all fun things to do. But sometimes self care is putting in the hard work. And sometimes it is admitting you need help from someone else. And yeah, it can be kind of scary. It can be kind of challenging to want to put that level of trust in someone you don't really know. Um, but it's kind of, I think the thing I kept telling myself for years is like, I want to be this way. I want to be a certain shape, or I want to have a certain physique or whatever. And then, if I start now, like I could be that way in like 3 years. And then 3 years goes by and I had never started and I've never made any progress. And so this whole process for me was more like, why not just start now? Like, it's an investment, yes. But as much as there's a monetary investment here, there's also that investment into yourself. And you've got to start at some point. So why not start now? It's going to be tough. You're going to struggle with it and it's going to suck at first. Um, and you're going to
And that,
feel awkward as all hell, but like just push through it, do it anyway.
and that's it. It's like change doesn't happen tomorrow or the next day. It happens now. Like you have to believe in yourself. Enough is enough. I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see how many people say they're ready, but when it comes down to it, they're just not ready, right? And that's okay. It's all part of our evolution. But that's the beautiful thing, is that in order to get somewhere where you've never gone before, you kind of have to do something you've never done. And
Yeah.
so, on that note, I just want to say I'm so proud of you for, again, your commitment, for showing up, and the courage, even though feeling scared and and being alone. And another thing too, I want to touch on is like you just came out of a 14-year relationship, and understanding like how many patterns, healthy patterns or unhealthy patterns there were, and now, you know, kind of breaking free from that. It's a scary thing. Like being alone is uncomfortable, and a lot of the times humans will choose quote unquote toxic relationships or discordant relationships just out of the fear, rather of being them by themselves. Because when you're by yourself, you have to look in the mirror, you have to be honest with yourself, you have to take certain responsibilities for the choices you've made. And if you
Yeah.
could share a little bit about that journey, that'd be really great.
Yeah, it's I think that's probably one of the harder things to confront in yourself is um, when you're in a long-term relationship. The idea of not being in that relationship is horrifying. And it's wild because like you see other people who go through breakups or who go through divorce, things like that, and ultimately they wind up being okay. They don't, their lives don't necessarily end. It may feel dramatic at the beginning, but ultimately they come through. But um, knowing that it's time to end a relationship and actually ending the relationship are two very different things. And so, again, I think like those little votes in confidence, like those little reminders, like I've done this so far and I can do so much more. You start to examine the things that are tripping you up, that are holding you back. And sometimes that is the actual relationship itself. And so when you don't have the support from your partner, when you don't have, certain necessary things you need in order to be able to progress on your own, um, sometimes it is best to let those things go. So yeah, it's newly terrifying being single, but um, it's also a great opportunity to sort of build these new connections, build new friendships that can help sort of fill those gaps too. So yeah, and I think it's just giving a lot more room to pause and reflect on my own, without input from someone else kind of muddying the waters. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Scary, but it's good.
Thank you for sharing that. And also to clarify too, it was like I never told you to leave the relationship. I almost just gave you the tools to recognize within yourself, like, is this serving me or is it not serving me? And ultimately it was like, this isn't serving my highest truth. So it's time to let it go. Because in order for me to call in something new, and that's like a big part of this process, is like we're clearing out, we're removing any of those blockages, we're removing all that stagnant energy in your body on a physical, mental, spiritual level. So that way we can call in something that much more beautiful, that much more attractive. So again,
Yeah,
just thank you so much for sharing your journey. This is really going to help a lot of people, I'm sure, resonate with your story. So thank you so much for sharing.
yeah, absolutely.